Bases dropped on Soccer's morning show. It's Thursday Thoughts, and we got a lot to think about this morning. We have an election or a re-election in Rwanda to talk about because of a Congress that's being held there. And we've got stuff from CONCACAF Champions League to get into from last night, and probably the reaffirmation that you probably need VAR, or at least if you're a fan of the purple team, you know that you're going to want VAR from going forward. Oscar Pereja getting a red card last night. We've got all of that to talk about. We got Champions League to talk about. We've got special visitors, technology, and let's see, how do we phrase this? I'm not going to say, gosh, I'm trying to think of what is the proper way to phrase this? If they're on the roads, we don't need roads. Actually, you do. So we're going to try something at 10:30. South Georgia Tormenta, your reigning USL League One champs, they are driving to Cary, North Carolina, because they have their season opener on Friday night. It's going to be on the Plus. All the games in the championship and League One are going to be on the Plus. And they're going to be driving north. So starting at 10:30, hopefully, if they're on the interstates, the cell service being what it is, we should be able to catch up with South Georgia Tormenta on the team bus as they're heading to North Carolina. They got to pick up some folks on the way as they're leaving from Statesboro. I think they're leaving from Statesboro in about 20 minutes. So at 10:30, we're going to hope that we can catch up with South Georgia Tormenta on the team bus. Co-owner President Darin van Tassell scheduled to be with us. Head coach Ian Cameron scheduled to be with us. And whomever they decide to pass around the device to inside the bus itself, or the transportation. I'm assuming it's a bus. But however, they are working their way north to Cary, North Carolina. Hopefully at 10:30, we'll be able to catch up with our friends at South Georgia Tormenta as they get ready for the USL League One season. Opening kickoff this morning, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. And might help if I actually, your Jared is absolutely correct. I thought that I had sent the link. Now, there's something that there's just, there's just times when you think you've done everything and then you haven't. So no, I didn't send the link this morning. So that now I have. Congratulations to the Discord. Thank you, Coco. QR code for those of you watching on Twitch right there. And once again, with our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com, use the code soccer down here 15. You get 15% off your purchase, and then they in turn take 10%, and then they send it into youth initiatives and very, very cool things, youth soccer, at our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. So now that I've actually sent the link to everyone that you try to have on the show in the morning, Masters Dinner was released. And so we were trying to figure out, okay, so if you had a Masters Dinner, what would you think of what Scotty Scheffler did? And were you a fan of what happened with Scotty Scheffler? And I welcome Jared Smith then, because I finally sent you the link to get into the show this morning.
Rude.
I know, really. Once again, you think you've sent everything, and then all of a sudden you don't. So, Scotty Scheffler decided to. I mean, it's like the tournament in Augusta where we try not to get into any kind of trouble by mentioning either their name or anything like that. They had the Masters dinner posted. And the whole idea, Masters dinner, if you win, you get to decide the menu for the Masters Club dinner. So Scotty Scheffler posts this. Cheeseburger sliders, served Scotty style, whatever that means. Firecracker shrimp, tortilla soup, Texas ribeye or blackened redfish, and a warm chocolate chip skillet cookie served in honor of Mr. Scotty Scheffler. So
I love so much that some of these people just eat like 8-year-olds.
Well, considering how many friggin' calories they burn in any given day, you're sitting there thinking, okay, you can eat, the warm chocolate chip skillet cookie and not have any problems. The question was raised, first and foremost, as our friend of the show, Mike Conti, posted the menu. What would you serve if you had the Champions Dinner? And I said, well, first and foremost, what I would do is I would just defer to Mike and have Mike advise on the menu. I'm not even going to sit there and go, I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and E. I'm going to have Mike decide it for me and kind of supervise over the whole thing. So Mike has said cold antipasto and or Caesar salad with white anchovies. I can't deal with the anchovies. I like the Caesar salad idea. Veal parm plus spaghetti marinara and or a cipollino and wrapping it up with a cannoli, espresso, and sambuca. So if you had the opportunity to have a Masters dinner, what would you do, Jared?
So I put this together last night, actually. Make sure I get make sure I don't veer too far off my own menu that I built. I was victim to many a dinner party as a kid, so I'm trying to make sure I get it right. Eating fancy dinners for me was just something we did. So, bacon wrapped water chestnuts to start with. Let people mingle, walk around, do whatever. Then a filet mignon with a crab béarnaise over the top. A side of probably just snap beans or asparagus. Either one's fine by me. I don't really care as long as you season it properly. Okay. Then basically cooked pears. And then garnish them with basically you can either slice or pulverize pecans and blue cheese crumble over it.
Okay.
And ending everything with a cast iron skillet chocolate pie.
There you go. Okay.
And you toast the meringue on top.
Okay. All right. I'm down with that. Yeah. So I give Turner Kirby full credit for suggesting this as our opening kickoff idea.
It's a good idea.
And so let's see. What do we have early on here? We've got the Airborne DJ, Tom Russo, caprese salad, gnocchi with an elk ragu and assorted cheesecakes.
Yeah. Fine with that.
Coco, Champions Dinner, cookout tray menu, build your own.
Yes.
I like that idea. Because then that way you can sit there and you can eat whatever you want, and instead of sit there and it's like you have to eat this, which was very very it's structured, and so of course you go into Augusta and you go into that particular golf club, because I don't even know if we can mention them by name without getting into trouble, because we don't
bill us.
Yeah, really, and so we can't afford to be billed. So I would sit there and say sure. Lay out the whole cookout, just lay it all out there and let the golfers decide on their own. It's like, yeah, I want that. I don't want that. Yeah, that. I don't want that. So that way, if they're not, because I mean, if you're at this particular golf club and you have this dinner that is laid out there on the menu and you don't eat a particular item, are you kind of throwing a little cold shoulder to the champ who put the menu together by not picking a menu item? And is the champ going to remember that if he's paired with you on the course at any given time? You didn't eat, insert item here off of the menu at the Champions Dinner. Therefore, I'm going to hold you accountable for that and shoot a 64 and show no mercy as you're wallowing around the course shooting a 78, Long memories for folks if you don't eat anything that's prepared by them for their champions dinner. Sam Williamson, hot and lemon pepper wings, extra wet, crinkle fries, large sweet tea, with a Krispy Kreme OG donuts for dessert. You're welcome, America. I mean, Sam, that's pretty strong. But
Yeah.
would you have the folks at the golf club prepare said wings, consulting perhaps with a particular establishment that is known for their wings? Or would you just have that particular establishment prepare the wings and send them to the golf club and take that out of the golf club's cook's hands so they don't have to worry about getting that correct? How would you play that one?
Man.
Because you don't want to, once again, you don't want to get the hosts mad, but you want to get it right. Do you make the call, or do you sit there and ask them for the recipe? That's the question. Or do you have the cook who is responsible for said recipe? Do you bring him in for the day? It's like, we just need you to make this particular. We need you to make this particular item. Sean, I'm not rambling. I'm not trying to drop any corporate names so we don't get charged or anything like that. I'm just
those people in East Georgia have zero sense of humor that they are aware of.
Right. So do you try? Yeah. Well, Sean now says that I get another minus point for avoiding the problem. Sean is on fire this morning. He's not taking any avoidance of any of my paragraphs and determining the particular establishment.
Thanks, Billy Payne, for everything, I guess.
Yeah. So wings at the Masters dinner from Tom. Come on.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, but it's you. But you won the tournament. You can decide whatever you want to have. Well, but Sam, they may have chefs for the job, but can those chefs replicate what you would be looking for there for the lemon pepper wings of the particular establishment? D. Graham, like the folks said at the golf club, don't know said wing place. They don't. They probably don't. Or they don't. Let's just say they don't. Not getting in any trouble. Sean, -3 that I didn't add Mountain Dew to the menu. I didn't win the tournament. You're going to have to talk to Scotty Scheffler about this. And if they had a Pepsi contract, if they have a contract with Coca-Cola, and the champ decides that he wants to have a Pepsi product, does that get you into any trouble? Or does the club sit there and turn and go, we don't want to see how this got into campus, sir? And kind of like a Dean Wormer moment. I don't know how that got here. I don't know how that particular drink got here, that it just showed up all of a sudden. Yes, and Michael Head has it squarely on the point. Michael Head says, I would love to see that establishment's delivery van pull up to Magnolia Lane. We brought your wings, sir. And what would the response be to the folks at that particular golf club if that happened with those wings? That'd be the
catfish nuggets at Augusta National. Just the amount of pearl clutching would be worth it.
Absolutely. Turner, mozzarella cheese stick appetizer. Good start.
And you need it to happen because if for no other reason, at some point, someone would have and be able to keep a placard at someone's table that has the words, basically the Lou Williams special wings on a Masters laminated card.
Absolutely.
And you have crossed the streams of Lou Williams and redacted.
Yes, and redacted golf club. Now Turner, this is pretty solid. I actually like this. Mozzarella cheese stick appetizer, which is probably what I'm going to be having later this afternoon as we're watching the postseason basketball tournament. Chicken and rice main dish. Either a Cinnabon cinnamon roll or a hot brownie with vanilla ice cream. And a Coke or Sweet tea is your drinks. See, that's fantastic. I would be all in on that. None of that you could turn down. That is fantastic. And Turner admits that if a Georgia establishment has a Pepsi contract, they should be closed immediately. Turner, if you go south of the Nat line, there is and I forget which is where, there is a Coke plant and a Pepsi plant. One is in Tifton, one is in Valdosta. There is far more Pepsi in South Georgia below the Nat line than folks may realize. That literally, you go into restaurants and the Pepsi products are right there.
To be fair, South Georgia is basically a different state.
True. That's absolutely true. Sam Williamson, once again, imagining what's happening here with Lou Williamson crossing the streams. Rick Ross pulls up with Wingstop wings to the master. Tell me you're not indulging in this. Yeah, and DM Tim, that's absolutely correct. Is South Georgia really Georgia, to Jared's point? No, Michael, but if you are the champ, that Michael had, there are no Pepsi products at the Masters, sir. But if you are the champ, can the golf club turn down a champion's request for the champion's dinner? If you come in the door and you sit there and you put on your card, Mountain Dew on the menu, do the folks at the golf club at that particular East Georgia city sit there and go, sir, we don't allow that here? Or because you're the champ and the champ is here, do they sit there and say, well, yeah, we kind of have to do this because it's tradition, just this one time? It doesn't impact the tournament and what you do when you want to get something in a green cup, in a nondescript green cup with said logo on it. But can you turn a champion down? I wonder if this has ever happened. And Airborne DJ, Pepsi is greater than Coke, and I believe that Tom is from north of the Mason-Dixon line, so that would impact his thought pattern.
You know what's even better? Cheerwine.
Oh, see, and the thing about Cheerwine is even diet Cheerwine is very, very good, because there are a lot of drinks where if you have the diet product, it just doesn't match up.
South Georgia was a Cobb County high school would be Pope.
Oh,
see, Coco and I live in this really narrow scope of just absolutely pulverizing every other Cobb County school that wasn't our own.
Of course.
Sometimes out of spite, in my case, sometimes out of an inferiority complex. Yeah, I'm always here for this.
Yeah, Turner's about to say Coco sees fighting words in this chat. Tofka. Tofka's a South Carolina resident, because of where he sends all of his ideas. Remember, Tofka is from South Carolina. Prefers Pepsi to Coke. Both are fine. Clear preference. Parzival has dropped RC Cola into the chat. But you got to pair it. You have to pair it.
You want to get the fun stuff? Go back to Dr. Thunder.
Wow.
From, basically any local place. I remember as a kid, we got the Winn-Dixie knockoff.
Uh-huh.
As a kid.
Oh yeah.
That's what there was, man.
That's where you went. You went shopping at the Winn-Dixie. Therefore, you would get that.
You went shopping at the Winn-Dixie because it was right there, and there was a Wonderland video right next to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There was a Wonderland video right next to the Winn-Dixie. So that's where we rent our movies from.
Yeah. Well, Nix, this is the opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and Kickoff
Nix,
Coffee.
none of this was ever going to make sense.
No. So
we don't do that here.
No. And so if there's South Georgia slander, Coco's going to drag it into the mud. So we started off with your Masters dinners, and Turner had a fantastic one, at least from my old man perspective. And so we go from there to Cola down here. That's where. Emilio, I do. Emilio, you should know that I drink. Mountain Dew's right here. I'm not a coffee guy, so therefore, I am a soda person. So that's what you're hunting for. But so Masters dinners. Keep letting us know what your Masters dinners are. Yeah, really. Come on. Yes, Off the Rails. Have you met the show? Thank you. We got stuff to talk about this morning, so keep sending in your Masters menus and your thoughts about Cola down here and anything else that's going on. Once again, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Don't forget to use the code soccer down here 15. You get 15% off your purchase at Kickoff Coffee and Kickoff Coffee CO. And they in turn take 10% and invest it into youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Hey, Jarrett, by the way, did you see that Orlando lost last night?
Orlando didn't lose last night. They lost over 180 minutes, and I'm going to be pedantic about this.
Yes, as you should.
They lost over 180 minutes. What they did was they proceeded to actually rely on Pedro Gallese, who, man, let's talk about what that team's going to look like if Pedro Gallese ever is not Pedro Gallese.
True.
Because Tigres put that man through the ringer, and he stood up to it.
Oh, yeah, he's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, he was like, cool, I got this.
Yeah.
Minor inconvenience. But they did draw. They damn near found the winner. Came as close as you can to finding the winner without actually finding the winner.
Yeah.
It was very funny.
So then allow me to ask those of you on the Twitch pitch, which would you prefer when it comes to the purple team? And we had this discussion last night, and we were talking about it. Which would you prefer when it comes to the purple team? Would you prefer something where it is in a situation like this, where they're in tournament play? Would you prefer them just to get blown out, losing like 7-3 like Real España did to Vancouver Whitecaps? Or would you rather it be something excruciating like what happened last night, where, as Kefsey says, they did not lose, they did fail?
Yeah,
and it was because
the best way to describe it.
It was away goals and possibly VAR, and Oscar Pareja gets a red card on the way out the door because
that whole game just completely imploded on itself. It was very funny.
Well, I mean, welcome to CONCACAF. But so if you are an individual that does not like the purple team, how would you prefer that they that they not have success? Would you rather them get blown out? Would you enjoy that, or would you rather them exit in excruciating fashion? So how would you prefer the exit of the purple team in any kind of a competition? So I guess that's a sub question of the whole thing. LAFC got a bit of a scare last night with Alajuelense. They had a 3-0 lead.
Would have been the funniest outcome.
Oh my God.
Far and away would have been the absolute funniest outcome if they proceeded to blow a 3-0 lead at home to Alajuelense.
And it was 3-2 with about 35 minutes to go. They couldn't find the equalizer, and then Cherundolo goes to the bullpen, brings in Carlos Vela. Vela scores with about 15 to go, and then
that cooked it at that point.
Yeah, and so it was 4-2, and that was your final. And then once again, Real España turned it into a shootout, winning 3-2, but losing 7-3 in aggregate after losing 5-0 at BC Place in the first leg, which kind of made it somewhat problematic for them. So LAFC advances, purple team does not. And so you've got that for your Knicks. The deal with Gignac is that he was not basically allowed into the country because he has a stance about COVID-19 vaccination or lack thereof. And it was just like, well, you've either got to be vaccinated or you're not going to be allowed in the country. And so he has an anti-vaccination stance and was not allowed in the country. So there you go. And Tigres got it done without Gignac on the road.
Hey man, Tigres was causing problems without him.
Uh-huh.
They were doing okay.
Yeah. And so you've got all of that. And then the subset to this is once again a Knicks question, or probably more declarative. He needs a thorough investigation as to why FS2 cut away from CCL last night. You need answers. Well, the answer is the World Baseball Classic.
Oh, the other answer is basically feels like the other networks really don't give a damn about the product of, be it CONCACAF or MLS, whatever it might be.
Yep.
It feels like they do not care.
No.
Which is very disappointing because they have given them a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, and the deal specifically with that particular network, Fox said that they are an event network. They're not necessarily a games or a match network now. They're into events. Last time I checked, CONCACAF Champions League is an event that has ties to teams that you have a contract with from a league perspective. Yet at 10 o'clock Eastern time, FS2 had the triple header. Game wasn't going to start till 10:15 anyway, the LAFC Alajuelense match. As we said yesterday in going through the TV grid, the match wasn't going to start till 10:15. And because of all of the extras that were attached to the Orlando match, right at 10 o'clock, FS2 goes to their World Baseball Classic coverage. So you had two options. You had trying to find it on Fox Soccer Plus or FoxSoccer.com or FoxSports.com, or just go to TUDN, legitimately. And this is what I do. I legitimately just sit there. I don't even have Fox as a part of my discussion when it comes to finding, what channel I'm going to be watching things for. When there is a choice of doing the remote and going to on Xfinity, either channel 75 or 76, and then they take it to HD, or go to channel 600, I go to channel 600. I go to TUDN. I always have, because I know that their coverage of the sport, literally, which started at 4 o'clock that afternoon with Champions League. They went Champions League at 4 o'clock. Then they had the triple header without any interruption whatsoever. 6, 8, 10, 15. Triple header in CONCACAF Champions League. I knew that I didn't have to pick up my remote, and I could be the laziest you-know-what on the planet, and I would have all 4 games back to back to back to back, one channel. Much like John Arnold, golden ticket holder for the show, at basically 9:59 when people started raising all kinds of hell, they were like, okay, FS2's changing away. What do I do? On his Twitter feed, John Arnold, John, must follow on the Twitter, said, "Vamos a TUDN." And that's what folks should do, legitimately. When you have when you have a network that for their Major League Soccer coverage puts up a parachute, at least that's what it looks like to me, a monogrammed parachute with a sponsor name on it. And I think the games are called out of South Florida. They're not even called out of the studio in Los Angeles now. They take John and Stu, fly them to Fort Lauderdale, put them in front of that sponsored parachute for a backdrop, and call matches. Why should the viewer have any faith in that network when they show you repeatedly, whether it's through presentation or choice of programming, what their choices really are, and they're not focused on the sport?
Well, I mean, at this point, you have Apple, who is invested, because Apple's invested a lot of money recently. And yeah, if Apple didn't have the rights, they probably wouldn't be as invested. Okay, that's how business works.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. That's how it works. I'm certainly not going to be bitter at Apple and sit here and say, well, they only care because they have the rights. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yes.
That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
They're invested because they have the rights.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. It is disappointing, though, that you are in a situation where it kind of just kind of feels like everyone else, that now that they don't have the rights immediately, they don't really care. That's disappointing. It's not the end of the world. It's disappointing, though, that they have CONCACAF Champions League, which is an insanely stupid, beautiful tournament that we all love for varying reasons. And they're just kind of like, whatever.
And they don't put their announcers on matches this season anyway. They have in the past. This season, they're not even investing in announcers that could be still attached to Fox that are not a part of season pass. And for the Major League Soccer franchises that are playing their matches in CONCACAF Champions League, I mean, in the past, you've pulled some of your play-by-play guys and you've done stuff in a studio in L.A., but nevertheless, you've still had your play-by-play guys and your color guys still call those matches. You're not even doing that this year. It's like everybody that's attached to Major League Soccer, you're off doing your thing, and we're just going to run the international feed. And that's what Fox is doing this year. And sometimes with your head on a swivel, especially at the top of an hour, with a broadcast that could be in question, trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to? And then FS2 decides, okay, World Baseball Classic, dink. We're going there. And then you got to go fishing for the ending of the second leg of a match on a tie that's attached to one of your Major League Soccer franchises that you still have a contract with, where you still can do a match a week. You decide, okay, FS2, all right, FS2 is going to run World Baseball Classic. Speaking of which, Sam Williamson, a blowout looks bad on the whole league, so I chose the latter instead.
Okay.
Coco, I'd rather Orlando lose by the most CONCACAF-y way possible. The heart-wrenching loss by the thinnest of margins is the only way they deserve to lose.
Yes.
Burned. Exit in excruciating fashion, preferably. Turner, because it's two legs. Get run off the field at home, then proceed to come back on the road, tie the tie before a heartbreaking loss at the death. Parzival. Losing stoppage time at the end of extra time, with your coach also getting a red card for a potential penalty kick being called back to serve as the equalizer to go to PKs. It's like Parzival kind of enjoyed the plot line from last night. David, the meltdown in red at the end continues to lead me to believe they need more leadership and composure to be taken seriously. Remember the PK playoff before with the red cards, etc. So David looking at Orlando on the whole and Oscar Pareja in a situation like this. So you have that. You got guys with decisions. Turner, U.S. requirement for international visitors, burned. 2 to NA, the way to go always. Turner. As a baseball fan, I'm more pissed that Fox cut away from the spectacle that was the Dominican Republic-Puerto Rico match or game.
Okay, yeah, so that was actually an amazing game, just so we're clear. That was an outstanding sporting event. Never mind the fact that arguably the best closer in baseball, so dramatic in itself.
Oh, yes.
And then I got to watch a bunch of people who have a pre-existing agenda decide that that's the reason that the World Baseball Classic shouldn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Which was very annoying. Because, yeah, it's disappointing that Edwin Diaz blew his leg up, basically.
Yeah. Yes.
It really sucks for him. He just signed a new deal with the Mets. He was a guy who had been really bad at different points. He finally starts to kind of seems like he's figuring stuff out, and then he's like blows up. Last night, but he isn't celebrating, and to which everyone, immediately got on their high horse. This would never happen at spring training. Like y'all, the Mets we made fun of the Mets all year last year because they practiced celebrating a World Series win. They literally did that at one of their practices. At the end of practice, they all faked a World Series celebration for how they were going to celebrate winning a World Series. Imagine if you'd have done it doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So miss me with, we can't do the World Baseball Classic because people will get hurt. You got hurt jumping up and down because they won one of the best games you could have ever watched as a neutral because everyone in that game was 100% intent on killing the other team. It was beautiful baseball.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing for me is that I haven't gotten into the World Baseball Classic, so I missed Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. The only thing I heard out of it was the injury. And I will say this. If you haven't, and this is just because I was buzzing through social media and saw this, if you watched the early rounds of the Baseball Classic and missed out on any of the games out of Chinese Taipei, oh my God, do those fans get a workout?
Yes. Again, the sport of baseball in Central and South America, specifically Central America and the Caribbean, and in the Far East is much different than the sport you watch in the United States. They are not the same sport by any stretch of the imagination, and to pretend they are is not only foolhardy, it's just being stupid and shallow about what actually is the sport.
I mean,
also don't hate on other cultures for the way they do things, please. Yeah, I mean, no. it's really fun the way like you get baseball in Central and South America. They just do it in a lot of fun, chaotic ways. Japan and Korea, same boat.
Yeah,
a lot of fun and chaotic ways to do the game.
Yeah, I mean,
no reason to just be an absolute tool bag about everything, though.
No, I mean, in Chinese Taipei, literally, you've got cheerleaders and you have bands that play all the damn time until a batter comes to the plate. And even when the batter's at the plate, they turn the instruments away from home plate so at least the pitcher can have some semblance of concentration. But it was hilarious. It was fantastic looking at what they were doing in Chinese Taipei in this World Baseball Classic.
You should go see, like, in Japan when they do the high school, like, championships.
Yeah.
It's like an entire to-do. Like, big stadium environment, like, full-on chaotic stadium full of people to watch the high school teams play. It's a big deal.
Yes, and since we mentioned what's going on with Fox, Chris Hutchison mentions this morning. Diamond Sports has filed for bankruptcy, and the best thing that we could say from a soccer perspective is Major League Soccer got out alive.
Yes, you don't have to deal with watching. You don't have to deal with, hey, are we going to be able to watch Atlanta United because they were on Bally's? Like, you don't have to deal with that problem. That's a good situation to be in.
Yes. And I'm trying to think, and this goes for, I mean, obviously Diamond Sports is the big name that's attached to this, but at the same time, all of the AT&T networks, the Spectrum networks, Root, any network that was attached to a Major League Soccer franchise, yes, it's disappointing for baseball fans now that their network where you won't have to pay $20 a month for a streaming service. Looks like it's all going to get rolled over into MLB TV or something like that.
I look forward to seeing how MLB screws this up. Again, no one hates their fans more than baseball. Yeah. Not baseball fans, not necessarily the teams, but no one hates baseball. No one likes to punish baseball fans more than the actual organization that is Major League Baseball. They've made it into an art form.
No, they have. And so you had the Galaxy were on Spectrum Sportsnet or AT&T Sportsnet in Los Angeles. I think Houston was the same way. Kansas City was a Bally's. Columbus was a Bally's. I think, and obviously Atlanta United was attached to Bally Sports Southeast. So you did have a handful of networks that had Major League Soccer properties. Now, MLS teams jumping out the year before. Now you've got Diamond Sports, who was underwater the second this transaction went through with Disney back in 2019. Picked them up for, I want to say, $10 billion. I want to say, or that you were $10 billion underwater. I think that's the number that sticks in my head. You were underwater a fantastic amount of money, and there's no way in hell that you were going to get it back. So this seemed like an inevitability, especially 30 days ago when you said you weren't going to make your monthly loan payment of $135 million. This was an inevitability. I feel sorry for fans that have this as the only way to access the sports that they watch, basketball and baseball specifically. Makes you wonder about the future of these channels. Are they going to go away? Is it just going to be college rebroadcasts and things like that? But yes, Major League Soccer got out alive when it comes to Diamond Sports Group and all the Bally's and the Roots and the Spectrum Sports Nets. Turner, calling remote games now for domestic leagues should be a major red flag.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you only have the one match a week and you still want to do it remotely, I mean, what does that say? It to me, someone who wants, we're investing, we're into events and not games. Yeah, obviously, apparently you are. So you've got that. And Knicks, along those same lines, the one commentator doing it remotely is the most phone it in you can get. Turner, our play-by-play guy at the D2 school I work at, is better than the guys in CCL, and he's a freshman. See, I can only hear the words, and he's a freshman in Derek Wittenberg voice from now on.
I thought you were going to say Vince. Not Vince, Larry Munson.
Yeah. Well, that's true, yes. He's a freshman, but if it's, Derek Wittenberg this time of year, Alvin Franklin, the freshman. We're talking about the Houston Cougars. Emilio. No, and Emilio, this is square, right on. This is absolutely right on. You don't really need to understand the language if you're watching 2 to NA. Pretend you're at the game. You don't have analysis when at the game, right? Unless you're on Discord watch along. You could do that as well when you're watching 2 to NA. And 2 to NA, even if you do not understand a word, you get the energy. The energy comes through the screen. And
it's beautiful.
And their passion comes through. So if you don't understand a single word of the language, the energy is there. The passion is there. The action is there. You know when they're ramping up. You know when something major is going to happen. You're watching it. So you get a sense of empathy for the fan and the broadcaster if you're watching it on 2 to NA. And I have zero qualm about watching 2 to NA, Nuestra Tele, Fanatis, being in Espanol, any of these channels, because the passion is there and you can sense it. The LPF on Fanatis, even though, yes, the international feed is on Paramount Plus. All of these networks, the passion is there. So if you're frustrated by your American flagship, go to the Spanish language channels and watch it there. And their presentation, they got a half-hour pre and a half-hour post. They don't blink.
No, they take it seriously, and they show it. I guess for me, it's not only just a thing of like, oh, they show it respect. No, they show it love.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a matter of respecting it; they love it.
Yes, absolutely,
and that matters. It's not just a matter, because it's not, to me, just a matter of, oh, they respect the game and they respect it with their broadcast. No, you got people doing the job who love it, who it doesn't come across like an inconvenience.
Absolutely.
It's a big deal.
Yes. And they treat it as such. And the emotion shows that. Burned. It would be cool if Fox loses the 26 World Cup as a consequence of the ongoing corruption lawsuits about how they got the 18 and 22 rights. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and go back-to-back and announce it right there in the press conference. We've got some news on Gianni Infantino as well coming up, obviously, in hour number 2. Burned, if I'm FIFA, I'm looking into this option and get a lot more money now, given the extra dollars to the women's tournament. And Gianni Infantino also had words about the women's tournament, too. Yes, Caribbean baseball is cool, just like soccer. Best baseball atmosphere for sure. DM Tim wanted to go baseball down here. What are the Braves going to be on this year? Probably whatever Major League Baseball decides to do with all of the Bally properties. It's probably going to be MLB TV, something like that.
No clue yet.
But do not be surprised if
we still know yet.
If there's a streaming option or something like that. And because you can't, the production elements for these broadcasts are booked. You can't just sit there and say, we're not going to pay the production. Well, you can, but you're not going
That's going to lead to a lawsuit.
Abandon the production elements that have already been booked and reserved and probably paid for. There was probably some upfront in that. But with all of when it comes to filing for bankruptcy, Diamond may have to be responsible for all of the markets and all of the crews that were supposed to call baseball games. Basketball might get out alive, considering we're in March and you have 3 months before the end of the fiscal year. Basketball broadcasts might be okay. Baseball broadcasts might get really messy with creditors and individual creditors. Think about all of the independent contractors that work in our business that are impacted when Diamond completely goes belly up and they're like, we're not paying our bills anymore. We're going bankrupt. You filed for bankruptcy protection. The second it gets approved, you're going to have a long list of creditors, and the big ones are going to be the ones that are going to get paid first. They're going to be the ones first in line.
Mm-hmm.
Think about all the individuals tied to these networks that work each and every one of these games. You're talking 81 times your life is reserved to do your job to make sure a broadcast goes as smoothly as possible. Jarrett and I always talk about live television being like the dog in the pond. Think about everyone below the waterline that you never see that is attached to a broadcast to make sure that everyone on Bally Sports South that's calling a game comes across with the best pictures. Think about all those folks below the waterline that are paddling furiously to make sure that something like that goes across as smoothly as it does. Those folks are going to be the ones who are going to be impacted the most because they have suspended their lives for 81 dates and possibly more if they're attached to the Hawks as well. Theoretically, you could have folks who have 1/3 of their year locked into doing these dates to make sure that you have been able to watch the Hawks, the Braves, whatever is on your favorite sports channel. And they will be impacted financially because of this going to bankruptcy. And they won't be at the front of the line when it comes to getting any kind of a settlement through a creditor. Think about those folks that are impacted in this as well. I know we get caught up in the teams and the channels and all that kind of stuff, but Jarrett, I know these folks.
It was a big deal when the Thrashers moved because I had friends who worked in-house at Phillips Arena.
Mm-hmm.
They're working in-house, doing in-house production because a lot of times you split your production. You split what you see on broadcast television is one crew. What you see in-house is another crew.
Yep.
We did this at Turner Field for the longest time because, we had people who did in-house production, and for the Braves, and then for Hawks and for Thrashers.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of how it goes, and then you might jump and do one or the other, but that's still work loss, money loss. A lot of these people freelance.
Yeah,
you can make a good living doing this level of freelance. I have friends who make a really good living doing this level of freelance, but it's a lot of damn work, man.
Yeah, it is, and so keep an eye.
It's a lot of travel. It's a lot of just physical labor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Coco comment down the line in the Twitch pitch. Live broadcasts are the embodiment of an iceberg. You see 5% of the people involved. You don't see the other small villages of people that it takes to make them happen. Amen.
And even when at the end of the the Sunday NFL game, when they start rattling off our producer was so and so in the truck, they're hitting a fraction of the people, and it's not out of a slight or insult to people who weren't mentioned, but they only have so much time. There's a lot of people in the production.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, doing the basketball championships last week from Macon, was 2 crews. You had a dayside crew and a nightside crew. You had folks in Macon You had folks in Atlanta. You had basically 2 sets of folks cutting the day in half. So 4 sets of folks to make a production happen over a 4-day period in 2 separate locations. That's a hell of a credit roll.
When I did God, I haven't done it in years. When I did Corky Kell one year, we were splitting our camera crews because it's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because Corky Kell is done in the early fall, late summer,
Yes.
when the weather is just brutal. We were doing this at Georgia State, which is outside versus inside Mercedes-Benz or the Georgia Dome. When you're outside in August shooting on a turf field, you don't really want to be alive for much longer.
Yes.
So we used to split our camera crews. We had some crews that did some we would you would basically do 2 games and then take a break because it's too hot to be running around, especially if you were running a field camp. Get the hell out with that, man. That's just brutal.
Yes. Before you go, Alan Carlton signs with Atlanta United too. I wanted to get your thoughts on that before we go.
Alan Carlton, who has an obscene amount of dog in him, and I'm very happy for him. One of these kids that has really shown a lot of growth in the last year. He's still got growing to do. This isn't like Alan Carlton's there. No, he's still got growing to do, man. He's still a young kid. Hopefully he's able to get things going in a very positive way for himself.
Get that man to the training table.
Yeah, man. Like give him a jar of peanut butter or something like that.
5'8", $125 on a good day, but Alan Carlton signs with Atlanta United too. So this spring we've seen Luke Brennan and Alan Carlton get signed by Atlanta United in various ways. So very, very cool stuff. But yeah, before you turn into an actual person and have to do work,
go ahead.
I just said before you turn into an actual person, I just wanted to get your thoughts on Alan before you had to go.
Yeah, no, I mean he's an incredibly. I think he's very talented. I think it's really clicked for him in the last not the last calendar year, the last even 6-7 months. Second half of last year, I think the thing that stuck out for me is the speed at which the game moves for him. I think the game slowed down for him.
Yeah,
and I think it became much easier to deal with, and he got more comfortable with the pace of the game, with some of the physicality of the game, and that's going to be something he still has to improve on. Is that physicality of the game? He's gonna have to handle it because teams are gonna try and beat him up because he is kind of scrawny, but he's scrappy and he's got a lot of fire in him, and I think he's gotten technically better. So let's see if I guess the one unique thing I want to see, how does he handle the speed in terms of not just the speed of play but speed overall, because that was and is still one issue with Andrew Carlton is the raw athleticism isn't on par with some other players. So
yes, but yeah, he's got some sandpaper in him too. And
oh yeah. When you pull that X-ray, there is a dog in there.
Yes, and for someone who's 5'8", 125, it's there's a lot of bulldog in there in that X-ray. But let's see. So we'll catch back up with you again tomorrow on a Friday because we have a weekend whip around. Yep. And our friends from Beyond Goals, and they'll be ready to rock and roll. So there goes Jarrett. We're going to get ready for the turn of the clock here in hour number 2, which means one thing. And it's time to turn the music down. We're going to go 13 just to see what folks have to say. And happy 316 Day, by the way, for those who celebrate. And as much as I would have liked to have pulled a glass crashing or a bedpan smashing upon an individual, definitely would have gotten in trouble for that. So, didn't quite do that, but happy 316 Day for those of you who celebrate on the heels of the Ides of March and Ted Lasso. So as we continue to go for the next half hour before our friends from South Georgia Tormenta join us from the road, knock on wood, let me know what you thought. If you watched the first episode of season 3 Ted Lasso, what you thought about that as well. So we got, obviously, like I said, we got stuff to talk about as we get into the final half hour of talking before we catch up with our friends from South Georgia Tormenta before we go. But it's time to read the promo because that's what we like to do here. come 10 o'clock. So we hit rock, and here we go. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's a Lemonize service. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. Lemonize service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. Created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use a Lemonize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment we like that these days, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our other masking agents that you might have under the sink or above you in the cupboard, because when you reach under the sink or above you in the cupboard, pull out said masking agent and you spray it in the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent, because all it does is mask the odor. It doesn't attack the problem all the way down to the molecule like our friends at a Lemonize service do on a daily basis. Pricing very, very easy, one of two ways, either by the cubic foot or parts per million to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise. One place you need to go, it's their website, Lemonize.com. But do us a favor, and this is where I pick up my pen. So after the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you were addressing them from. Your full homework assignment. ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, Lemonize.com /Atlanta. Lemonize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH as we gather our Thursday thoughts. Attempting the slow fade. No, it wasn't too bad this time. But so there you go. Lemonize service joins us into hour number 2. We got stuff to talk about. We'll go through the Twitch pitch. We have to talk about what's going on. Since Byrne mentioned Gianni Infantino, we'll get into that and get into all of the other things that are going on when it comes to what you guys have on your minds. In Minnesota is Bally. Thank you, Ricky, for Twitch pitch and all of your viewing that have been going on. As Kefsi's, anyone been to an away watch party or establishments having zero problem showing Apple TV games? We don't know yet because it was on another channel versus Charlotte. Don't know. So for those who have been watching an away match, how did you do it? Did you get to do it as a group? Did that particular establishment have season pass? Let us know. Ricky Ricardo thinks there was a watch party in Lawrenceville. Didn't hear of any issues. Tom, MLB has been supremely arrogant, resting on their laurels as America's pastime for many decades, ignoring the slow, rotten decline, dying a slow death. I mean, I'm just not interested. I'm really not. I mean, obviously the last strike kind of did it for me anyway, and I just had really no interest in seeing it. Public service, by the way, the boss is going to be singing the national anthem at the Stripers game on June the 7th. So if any of you are up in Gwinnett County and you're going to want to come crash the Stripers game, you'll see the boss singing the anthem. And you'll see one guy sitting behind home plate very, very proud. That'll be me. Ricky, yeah, how do you not call an LAFC match from the stadium or even from an LA studio, but from South Florida? I know. When you're based in LA. Yeah. And, Emilio, I'm right there with you. Moved on to baseball. Tafka Live Sports Broadcasting is in a major turning point. Bravo to Major League Soccer being first on the bus out of the antiquated system. Emilio, 2 to NA had World Cup post games like an hour long. Yeah, fans in the streets. They were there. I mean, they were locked in. Doing the fan thing, they were engaged, which is what you should be. And, yeah, 2 to NA was off the charts. That's what I was watching. Coco, happy no matter where the Braves end up. As long as they aren't playing in the state of Texas, you get MLB TV out of T-Mobile. Yeah, prayers relying on in-market streams. Let's see. We'll get Byrne since you're in the timeline. We'll get into there. Nate being transformed into Jose Mourinho, except that Nate is more of an ish head than Mourinho. I mean, just the arrogance that is attached to Nate to Nate Shelley, and especially once he found his voice by summoning up all the courage and then having a spit fit below the table. But yeah, you do see the whole Emperor Palpatine. And now, did you guys see the background behind Rupert's desk? Very Emperor Palpatine-ish with the background. I mean, you got Emperor Palpatine and Anakin Skywalker kind of deal. You got that going on. But can Nate be redeemed? That's going to be the question here in season 3. Will Nate be a redeemable character? Sometimes folks just aren't redeemable. I thought it was interesting how Roy and Keeley phrased that they weren't seeing each other differently to Phoebe, although Phoebe seems to have more sense than both Roy and Keeley when it comes to their relationship. And the one moment that stuck with me in episode 1 was after Ted Lasso comes back to the training ground and goes in to see Rebecca, then and explains that, yeah, they were not at practice and that they were in the sewer. And Rebecca has choice words for Ted. When Rebecca goes from angry to vulnerable, when she says that Rupert is laughing at her, and you hear the 2001 music from the episode in season 2 when they both revealed Rebecca to her mother and Ted to Dr. Sharon about their traumas in 2001, when the trauma is reintroduced to Rebecca and they bring in that particular music track underneath her, just briefly. I thought it was very, very interesting when they did that. So, Sam, I'm not a Star Wars guy. So if I'm Palpatine, it's is it like Ovaltine? I just thought it was a Palpatine. So if it's Palpatine, yeah. So there we go. Okay, so Tom says 13. Okay, so Tom has 13 as the perfect level. West Ham should hire Nathan Sack Moyes. Really, I know that was the other piece of irony. We had a bit of a watch party here at the house last night. And the irony was not lost on me that West Ham is chasing after a Premier League title and they're fighting for a relegation spot in real life. So there you go. I thought that was interesting. Sam, no one has been to a Macon Mayhem hockey game. Thinking about taking the kids tomorrow. Don't know how. Look, just be prepared for a fight. Just be prepared for a fight. No, and so, Nix, I'm sorry if I spoiled it. It was a production element. So, Macon Mayhem, it's lower level hockey. You're going to get fights. Don't expect the most athleticism in the world when it comes to the sport. These are guys that love playing the game. And so, go enjoy yourself. Go enjoy yourself. Find some T-shirts. Get some stuff for the kids. Just go enjoy it as a good time. Like I said, don't be surprised if there's any fights. So that's the biggest thing. Lower level hockey, you will get fighting. And don't be taken aback by that. So there you go. Yeah, fine. Michael, yes, earmuffs, no doubt. How bad is West Ham going to beat Richmond in their first match? Don't know. Like I said, I've seen clips, but I don't know how this is going to run down. Yes, poised. Thank you. All right. Palpatine, thank you. Like I said, I'm not a Star Wars guy. So, what do you want me to hold off until? All right. So, all right, we'll set some ground rules. We will set Ted Lasso ground rules. We will set some Ted Lasso ground rules going forward. First episode is already out in the public sphere. How long on the show are we supposed to withhold discussion of a previous episode? Are we supposed to wait till Friday? Are we going to wait till Friday to talk Ted Lasso talking points? This is probably going to have to go in the Discord to come up with an actual theory. But since it came out early Tuesday, you had Tuesday, then you had Wednesday to watch. And the thing is it's not just like at Wednesday at 8 o'clock. It's not a regular time frame like structured network television. It's released. It's out in the ether like midnight. So, but then, Tom, we run into a problem. If we wait 48 hours, that's the weekend. So 24 hours. Okay, so Fridays. Friday. Thank you, Sean. So then are we going to agree that I am to hold off any kind of discussion on the episode itself until Friday morning 9:05? Because like I said, we wait 48 hours, it's not getting discussed till Monday. So I can talk production elements and little things, but we get into actual plot and discussion, we have to wait till Friday morning 9:05. I'll stipulate to that. So going forward, unless there's any objection, none heard, so ordered. We hold off on Ted Lasso talk until 9:05 Friday morning. 9:05 Friday morning is when we will discuss everything going on with Ted Lasso. Okay, but yeah, there was a production element that I thought was interesting. And it was in the spoilers where you're looking at, okay, all right, so I'll go spoilers, mute, and then I'll wave my hands. And probably for those who are watching on the Twitch pitch, I'll probably come up with a sign that says, okay, we've stopped talking. But no, I can live with Friday morning 9:05. I can live with Friday morning 9:05, although I understand the immediacy. I understand the immediacy of the idea. I understand it. So I'll stipulate to 9:05 on Friday morning. That's fine. Unless it comes up in the Twitch pitch, and then I will try to nebulously work my way around whatever the comment is, and then everyone else in the Twitch pitch can throw fruit at the individual that brings it up before Friday morning. So, all right. So, and Tom has the theory. So those of you in the Twitch pitch can watch the theory. All right. So we got about 15 minutes before Tormenta joins us on the bus. Okay. All right. So there's your ideas on spoiler alerts and things like that. All right. So, and if you're going to do, and if you're going to do, Tafka, I would go all the way, go as far back as you haven't, and then like binge, because I've actually binged Jack Reacher in a day. Did that once. Can't wait for season 2 of that. So, yeah. So, and if any of you in the Twitch pitch, see, now I'm going to hold you guys to the same standard. If any of you in the Twitch pitch are going to do spoiler alerts, go ahead and say spoiler alert in the Twitch pitch before you type something, and then everybody else can throw fruit at you. So, all right. Before we get into USL League One, Liverpool obviously did not have the comeback yesterday against Real Madrid. Real Madrid moves on. We'll get into that probably after Tormenta leaves us at 11 o'clock before we go. Nico, Thursdays with Nico comes back at 1:30, I believe. I think that's when we have Nico coming back. Thursdays with Nico is at 1:30. Tomorrow, Jason and I are at Archer for Brookwood and Archer for your high school games on your Friday. And if you've missed it, Soccer's in Session came out last night. Caught up with Julius Omateo, the girls coach at Mundy's Mill, and Rod Martin, the head coach at Spencer down in Columbus, as a part of breaking down the high school game for everybody here in the state of Georgia. So it was really cool conversations at about Mundy's Mill girls and Spencer boys. That is on the network as well. Soccer is in Session. So there is all of that. Yeah, I absolutely loved Reacher, and really wish that the two of them would become an item, and that she would kind of help him through all of his other adventures. But we know that that's counter to who Jack Reacher is. But okay, Johnny Infantino, they had the Congress is what they're called. The 73rd FIFA Congress in Kigali, Rwanda, earlier today. And I mean earlier today for those of us here on the East Coast. Swiss reelected in front of the 211 member associations until 2027 after standing unopposed. He had he had a statement, obviously, when he was reelected. Truly humbled and touched by your support. I promise you, I will continue serving FIFA, serving football all over the world, serving all 211 member associations of FIFA. Following the re-election, he added, quote, "To all those who love me, I know there are so many, and those who hate me, I know there are a few. I love you all," end quote. He said, leadership is about learning, and I certainly have. Leadership is about acting, and I'm here to act. Beat to 3, 4. And we have news out of Qatar as well, which will come as a surprise to none of you in a bit. Became head of the world governing body back in 2016 after he succeeded Sepp Blatter, reelected in 2019, then again this year. Was on the reform committee, received backing of the executive committee at the time, standing unopposed, confirmed by FIFA in November of last year. FIFA presidential terms normally run in 4-year cycles. He could remain president until 2031. Blatter was FIFA president for 17 years until he was banned back in 2015. Now, to his speech, and this is from Matt Slater and our friends at The Athletic. Reading Slater's copy. Gianni Infantino has compared his campaign to win the FIFA presidency in 2016 to Rwanda's recovery from the 1994 genocide that saw ethnic violence kill more than 500,000 Rwandans. He was speaking at the start of the 73rd FIFA Congress in Kigali, where he was later reelected unopposed for a third full term. First electoral success, however, was more competitive, if you'll remember, as he beat the Asian Football Confederation president Sheikh Salman bin Ibrahim Al Khalifa to the prize of replacing Sepp Blatter. Something of a surprise, Sheikh Salman had the backing of the Asian and African confederations, far better known on the global football politics scene. That said, this is Slater. Many voters had deep reservations about the Bahraini's royal candidacy. Infantino had strong backing from Europe, North and South America. He referred to the build-up to that vote during his opening address on Thursday when he told a story about his first visit to Rwanda whilst on the campaign trail in 2016 and how he first met Rwandan President Paul Kagame, who was sitting in the front row of the audience. He explained that he came to the opening game of the African Nations Championship, which was being staged in Rwanda that year, to meet African voters, then returned for the final a few weeks later. Quote, the first time I came, I was full of energy and hope. And the second time I came, I was told, well, you know, we all love you, but actually we're not going to support you in the election. So, of course, I was pretty depressed, about to give up. I'd already packed. Suddenly somebody came to me and he gave me a ticket for the match of the final because I had no ticket for that. And he told me, this is a ticket offered to you by President Paul Kagame. And then I thought about it, and I remembered my visit to the Rwanda Genocide Memorial. And I said, who am I to give up? What this country has suffered and how this country came back up is inspiring for the entire world, dear President. When asked for clarification on his comments, Infantino added, I would never make a comparison between a human tragedy and my life. All I'm saying is, this country is so inspiring for many people for what has been done that when we come with our own problems, we should just be more humble, end quote. It's not the first time, this is Slater, not the first time Infantino has appeared to make insensitive remarks during his speeches. As he told the media before the World Cup in November, he understands what it feels like to be discriminated against on the basis of their race or sexual orientation because he grew up as the red-haired son of Italian immigrants in Switzerland. Infantino eventually beat Sheikh Salman 115-88 in February 2016, subsequently reelected twice by acclamation, a round of applause, in 2019 and now again in 2023. And because he has clarified that his first term was not a complete term, it does not count towards the 3-term limit for FIFA presidents, which means he can stand for a final term in 2027. So we have that this morning from Gianni Infantino, as he is now once again the head of FIFA for another 4 years. So there's that. Oliver Brown at the Telegraph with one of the least surprising headlines. FIFA's love of cash is ruining the World Cup. And so that goes through the whole idea of the 48 teams and all that kind of stuff. So there's that. The Guardian this morning. FIFA has admitted sponsorship defeat over the plans of the Saudi sponsorship of the Women's World Cup. And Bart Byrne, you were getting into this earlier on the timeline. FIFA admitted defeat over plans to make Visit Saudi a key sponsor of this year's Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand after a huge backlash from organizers and players. Speaking at the conference, Infantino confirmed for the first time that talks had taken place with Saudi Arabia's tourism arm, but said no contract had been signed. I can clarify, quote, I can clarify that there were discussions with Visit Saudi. At the end, this discussion didn't lead into a contract. How do you say it? It was a storm in a water glass. A storm in a teacup. I think he's trying to say tempest in a teacup. Despite Infantino's attempts to make light of the situation, the news was a significant victory for organizers who were left blindsided in January by reports suggesting a deal was close, given the Saudi states, and this is once again from Sean Ingle at The Guardian, given the Saudi states' appalling human rights record, it put a significant public pressure on FIFA to change course. Remember, Vivian Minema came up and spoke publicly about it, saying FIFA should be deeply ashamed. Infantino, who also announced a $150 million prize fund for this year's Women's World Cup, 300% increase from 2019, said he didn't see anything wrong with taking sponsorship from countries such as Saudi Arabia. Quote, FIFA is an organization of 211 countries. For us, they're all the same. There wouldn't be anything bad in making sponsorships from Saudi Arabia, China, the USA, Brazil, or India as far as we're concerned. Infantino also pointed out that while there'd been a backlash to the mooted Visit Saudi deal, very little was being said about the $1.5 billion worth of trade between Australia and Saudi Arabia every year. Quote, this doesn't seem to be a problem. But between a global organization like FIFA and Visit Saudi, this would have been an issue. There's a double standard here, which I really don't understand, end quote. He added, there is no issue and no contract. There are discussions, and of course, we want to see how we can involve Saudi sponsors in women's football generally, how we can involve Saudi sponsors in men's football, or we can involve Qatari sponsors in women's and men's football, and all other sponsors from all over the world. He angrily targeted broadcasters, some of them public service channels funded by taxpayers, who he said offered up to 100 times less for rights to the women's tournament. Quote, well, offer us 20% less, 50% less, but not 100% less. That's why we can't do it. Set a target of equal prize money for men and women at their next World Cups in 26 and 27, respectively. A tough task when the 32 men's teams shared $440 million at last year's World Cup. Quote, women deserve much, much more than that, and we are there to fight for them and with them, end quote. So Gianni Infantino and the Congress in Kigali, Rwanda, with a backdrop that says football unites the world for the 73rd FIFA Congress. So we had, we had that this morning with Gianni Infantino. Hopefully our friends from Tormenta will be joining us in about 10 minutes or so. So let's see if we can go through what else is going on the planet before we catch up with our friends at USL League One. And yesterday, Ivan Toney earned an England call-up. Alexander Arnold, Sterling, and Ben White were all left out. You had yesterday, it was Brighton beating Crystal Palace by the score of 1-0. Brentford shutting out Southampton by the score of 2-0. Stefan Bajcetic is out for the rest of the season due to the injury to his adductor. So we'll see how that impacts folks. Man United looks like they're ready to enter the chase for Jude Bellingham to the tune of £120 million. Papers this morning, avoiding the 3 and the 4 letter paper, as we always are set to do because of their track record for information. Wrexham co-owner Ryan Reynolds. Don't know how many of you are on Mint Mobile, but first $1 billion deal of his business career, selling Mint Mobile to T-Mobile for $1.35 billion. Keep an eye on that. Liverpool recently had both Marco Asensio, Dani Ceballos in reach, but they have unable to complete moves for the Real Madrid stars. Messi's father, Jorge, arrived in Saudi Arabia Tuesday and is set to offer a transfer proposal that would put him in the same wage bracket as Cristiano Ronaldo, who decided that he was going to punt a ball at a recent match. So it apparently has not gone very well for CR37. Also, Matteo Guendouzi has confronted a fan who has begun a hunger strike in effort to force Leonardo Balerdi out at Marseille. We'll see how that goes. Daily Telegraph, Gareth Southgate losing another member of his backroom staff, performance psychologist Ian Mitchell joining Chris Powell and departing. BBC is set to face competition from rival broadcasters for Match of the Day Premier League rights package, which has belonged to them for almost 20 years. Forest midfielder Gustavo Scarpa is back in England, but not in the right mental state to return to action yet after returning to Brazil to attend court hearings over a cryptocurrency scam, which cost him a reported £1 million. As many as 8 groups are in talks with Manchester United about future ownership of the club. You're starting to get a lot of folks who are getting their faces seen in these situations. Trying to figure out where my notification was on that one. Ben Jacobs, Shahzad Shabazz, significant appointment as the head of the 9-2 Foundation. Respected figure, spent 25 years Bank of America, an expert in international banking, investments, and capital markets. Also CEO of Q Invest and the Emirates NBD. Focus at Bank of America was across their regional investment banking platform for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Based in London for a decade, holds a BA in economics from Oberlin College in Ohio. So folks are starting to get in the queue when it comes to what we're seeing from everybody who wants to get their interest in Manchester United. Strong contingent from Sheikh Jassim's team is present in Manchester. Shabazz was there as well. Fadi Bakos, also president, according to Ben Jacobs, a legal, corporate, and investment advisor to Sheikh Jassim. Sam Powers, global head of technology, media, and telecom at Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Yashir Shah, president on behalf of B&A as well. He's their managing director. Lawyers from McFarland's, representatives from real estate and investment firms. Understanding talks will continue into the afternoon have been really positive. Sources close to the group that they have been warmly welcomed. And that is from Ben Jacobs, who is kind of keeping an eye on things. Also, Bryce Duke has signed an extension with Inter Miami through 25 with an option for 26. Thiago Almada has created the most chances in MLS this season, 12. I know that comes as a shock to all of you. We'll get into that tomorrow. Christian Pulisic speaks out. Believes the controversy surrounding Berhalter and Reyna has been extremely childish. Quote, everything that happened with Greg, first of all, has been handled in an extremely childish manner. I think it's childish. It's youth soccer. People complaining about playing time. I don't want to go too far into that, but that's what we'll say. So Christian Pulisic coming out with comments in regard to what we've been seeing. So it is 10:28. And it is time. We're trying technology here. We're trying technology, and we're going to see if this works. From the bus, heading to Cary, North Carolina. Salute, Darin van Tassell. How is technology working this morning, sir?
Well, you'll have to tell me on your end. On our end, you can see the trees of the Carolinas at the moment.
Fantastic of you to join. I wanted
John,
to.
there's nothing like a good road trip. You know that.
Absolutely.
So happy to be a part of this.
I mean, it's we decided that we wanted to try to figure out how to get in touch with the defending USL League One champs as you are driving to Cary, North Carolina. I know that there is a bus and the seats are the seats blue, matching everything going on. Did they match?
Seats are blue. That's what the whole squad looks like in the back. Everybody's got their own seats. Most of them are sleeping. But yes.
Okay. I know.
But we're all sitting there waiting for you.
Well, but at the same time, they've got 10-minute warning, and I know that Ian has 20-minute warning, the way that we have structured this. And a shout-out to Director of Communications, Edwin Pintor, is EP. I said, EP, I wanted to try to do this. Where's everybody going to be at 10:30 Thursday morning? And he's like, on the bus. Okay.
Right with us.
And I know. So EP has decided to dive in the pile and go, yeah, we'll go ahead and try this. There's a lot of stuff that I want to talk to you about. specifically from a philosophical standpoint heading into this season, as a defending champ in USL League One, what has the offseason been like getting ready for defending a title in Statesboro in League One?
Well, you asked for. I think any club asks for the last 4 months that we've had. Everyone wants to go into the season with defending champs, and adding a star to their top of their, everything that they're wearing. I think it's been more work, not less. I think it's been just as fun as ever. If we do anything that we want to be one of our hallmarks, I hope every month feels like it did the last month, at least on the structure of a program, regardless if we're winning or losing. I don't know how to do that any other way, but it's been a really busy off season. It's been an excellent preseason, and when the whistle blew last Saturday, and that was the last preseason game over, we immediately could switch to getting this thing going. And listen, all clubs live for getting the next part going, but it's been busy. When you have success, players get to move on, and new players get to arrive.
So you look at, I guess, the added sense of responsibility now. And, you've been a great steward for the game there in East Georgia and in that part of the Southeast, and for USL and USL League One. Now there is the added elements of being this steward as a champion. I know that's the kind of stuff that you're looking for as an owner and a president and as a franchise, but what's it like having that added gravitas now that's attached to Tormenta?
Listen, it's fun, but at the same time, we've never done this before. We've never had an off season where we got to do it. So usually it's just easy being yourself, because, as Oscar Wilde said, everybody else is taken, and that's what we get to do. So that part's not super hard. We're still trying to complete the rest of the stadium and build a team. I don't think it's been that difficult, but let's just call it what it is. It's fun. It won't help us win any games going forward. I don't think winning last year helps us win tomorrow, for example. But it's also, we get the benefit of a championship, and 2 of them, at least with our club, as we're growing the fan base and selling tickets, and it allows us to stand on a couple blocks taller and look really good in photos and pictures. And it's nice to think of ourselves that way, isn't it? There's no sense in dodging it. I know sports is filled with the metaphors. Now you get a target on your back, and goodness knows every team wants that. We're going to keep score every game, but in the heat of the games, I'm not sure it's going to make much difference on any outcomes, on how we think of ourselves or how the opposition does. But if you're going to give me an off season every year where we get to be defending champs, let's do it.
How is the development of the stadium? I know that kind of the last visions that a lot of folks got were in that USL League One final. Where are things with the development of the stadium? I know that there's a lot of ancillary stuff going on around it, but where do things stand right now?
We're still getting a lot of horizontal work. One of the beautiful parts of South Georgia and the whole state, but especially the South, is we get great red Georgia clay. And it is the foundation of so much of what we get to do. But when it rains one day, you get to let it dry out for 4. And such has been our winter. We're right now just hoping the parking lot's ready for next Saturday on the first home game. But it's moving along and well. The second scoreboard is at least sitting in the warehouse in town now. It would be fun to get that one up at some time. But listen, there's a lot of good mantras about our DNA, and a lot of it is we're building it as we're going.
And when you look at what you've been able to build, not just from the League One standpoint, but from the W standpoint, the infrastructure, the A, and everything, and all of this alphanumerical soup that you have going on right now, when you look at, say, the last handful of years, if I had told you as we're getting ready for the 2023 season opener that you're going to be a part of on the Plus against North Carolina FC, that you would have accomplished these things, what would you have told me?
I actually thought they were going to go faster, but I think when you're in the middle of it, time does seem like it's too slow. When you're on the outside, it probably looks like things are moving quicker. Isn't that the human nature component of it? But I probably don't think about that question enough. It's fun that others are, and thank you for that asking it. We're in a good place. The program's growing, but our next steps of it are now we need to make this habitual. Doing it one doesn't make it as a habit. Getting two in a year certainly was thrilling, but we've got to find a way to be here year in and year out, and that's the next step of growth for the club. And part of mine and Nature's role is to make sure we're providing the infrastructure that gets to do that properly. We think we got the right personnel. We feel very good about that, front office coaches and players, and you're going to get a chance to talk to them a little bit about that. And we think we have the right community in which to do everything well.
So when you build the way that you've been building, do you think of yourselves as a model franchise when it comes to the sport itself, considering, and this is the analogy that I've given you in the past, I said that every sports league needs a Green Bay. Every sports league needs that Green Bay Packers element to it, where it's not just, it's not just the big cities that are attached to it. Every league's got to have that Green Bay that's just as successful. And I would posit that you're the Green Bay of American soccer right now, considering what you've been able to accomplish in short order. Do you think of yourselves as a role model, not just for smaller towns and markets, but for those larger entities about how to go about things and making sure that you're taking care of infrastructure and players and growth and all of this horizontal and vertical elements that are these moving pieces?
Well, we'll take that. Can you still hear me okay? We've got a big semi truck right here. I think he's blocking reception. I know we'll take it. I mean, this is really kind of you. Well, it's very kind of you. We'll take if we're a model for anything, that's clearly for others to decide. But we knew what we were doing when we got into this. We weren't surprised to know how our community's metro population size compared to where our competition was going to be. But because it was home, we felt like we knew how to navigate those things. We just get to work differently on those areas, working harder. I don't think what we have to work hard on, John, is any than other clubs. It's still the same people along the way. I like the Green Bay analogy, but somebody has to be there. I think rather than sort of saying we're the smallest market, maybe a better way to say it is we deserve to belong in those bigger markets with what we're doing. Smaller doesn't mean less sophisticated, and we certainly are not. We're certainly not that. We have fewer people in our zip code, but the 912 in our area code is really happy that to be a part of this. Listen, I think that's our challenge, right? But we own it, accept it, and keep going. If we're a model that can help others, terrific. But we spend so much time making sure we get it right on ourselves. That part's really important.
But one of the things that I don't want folks to lose in this is that I would also posit that you're the spoke in a very large wheel when it comes to the growth of the sport in that particular part. I mean, literally, you take a pin and a map of Georgia, and if you put a pin right there in Statesboro and you do the circle and you look around it almost like the old days when WKRP in Cincinnati was on, you go walking into the lobby and you see the footprint of the AM transmitter there against the back wall. I would say if you do the same kind of a thing where Tormenta is concerned, all of where the sport has grown, not just Bullitt County, but toward Augusta, toward Macon, toward Savannah, down to Vidalia with what we've seen in high school, up toward Washington County and all of this kind of stuff toward, Reynolds Plantation, that you're a spoke in a very large wheel that I don't think folks take into account when it comes to, oh yeah, Statesboro, Georgia, but you're a spoke in a larger picture.
I love the WKRP reference. You are so dating us to all the listeners.
Yeah,
because
baby.
Les Nessman and Lonnie Anderson making her debut, and Howard had to be one of my favorite characters and all that. So I know that graph you're talking about. University towns create those spokes. We were able to jump right in and lay our our cable and our internet wire right on top of what Georgia Southern's done by Statesboro being a university town. So thanks for acknowledging it. I think it gives us some advantages in that regard. But whatever the challenges are, we still have to put a team together and have the right infrastructure for us, and have to have amazing coaches and a staff and a culture that players want to always come to. Wherever teams are, they're going to have to use whatever their resources are that they can use and do that. Statesboro gives us certain ones to do it. If you pull that WKRP web real quickly, we're going into the Atlantic Ocean, so we have to really grab the folks that are living on the land when you live this close to the coast.
Sam Williamson in the Twitch pitch is asking how Lionel Messi is going to fit into the team when he arrives in South Georgia. I mean, his dad's in Saudi Arabia trying to talk to folks. Is there any truth that you're trying to grab Messi before he heads home?
Well, I can't deny it. I think the options for wherever he arrives, all clubs will be willing and able, and so will we.
So is Jake going to be willing to create a Messi rule like MLS did with David Beckham?
If those options come about, we will do our best to find him the landing space. I can tell you the chicken fingers at the clubhouse are amazing. He's going to love that. The barbecue at Bandy's and the wine at Vino's are going to be big hits with Mr. Messi should we get it.
No doubt. Coco is in the Twitch pitch as well. And so Coco says, so Messi's on your short list. Got it. We know how this is working.
Yeah, write it down. Write it down. He's never been on the long list.
That's true. Absolutely true. All right. Look over your right shoulder, and who's going to be the next victim? Who's the next victim? Or are you going to hand this to EP? How are we going to do this?
I think we're going straight to Coach Cameron when he's ready for it. So I'm going to hand all the tools here over to Edwin, and he's ready to roll.
All right, EP. This is live radio on the tour bus as South Georgia Tormenta is heading to Cary, North Carolina. This is fantastic. There's Ian Cameron. And you're passing earbuds over. All right. So there's Ian's got the earbud in. This is fantastic. I love this. And shout out to our friends at Tormenta who are doing this on the team bus as they are heading to Cary, North Carolina. And I'm just talking to Phil until Ian is gassed up and ready to go. As the director of communications, Edwin Pintor, is handing over the tools. Coach, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, fantastic. Ian Cameron, head coach of South Georgia Tormenta, hanging out with us now. And how was your off season, huh?
It was busy. My wife and I brought another little child into the world, more my wife than myself. But yeah, we've got two little girls now, so that took up a lot of the time. So my own family, and then adding to our Tormenta family with new players, acquisitions, trying to help some boys move to the next level that they're looking for. So that's taken up most of the time, a busy off season.
So what's it like being a champ, but at the same time knowing that family changes? I don't think that sometimes the American football fan knows that permanence is a very rare thing when it comes to rosters. What's it been like shuffling in and out and gaining new relationships, losing friends, gaining new ones? What's that like?
Yeah, it's definitely the off season is not how people might imagine it. You're not taking your medal and going off to the beach and celebrating. It's very much of what's next. It's the week after the championship, quickly as a head coach, as a coaching staff, we have to adjust our mindset to try to find the best solution for the boys who want to move to the next level, and then to quickly make sure that we get our ducks in a row, our chess pieces in, to make sure that we can mount a serious contention for the following year. So the planning is continuous. The kind of elation and celebration period is short-lived, but that's okay. You know, the downside of the way that American soccer is set up is that you have to sit and then wait for 3 months before you get to play again. And whether you win the championship like we did, or whether you don't have a successful year, in either situation, you just want to get back at it, to be honest. You want to move on, play that next game, get back in a competitive environment. And thankfully, tomorrow night, we get to do that. So that's a relief, to be honest.
So what has it been like here in the preseason getting ready for the new USL League One season? And I know that there are those of us who cover the sport, and we sit there and we attach things to defending champs. Okay, everybody's coming for you. You're the defending champ. We got to knock you off your perch. But at the same time, I know that you and the staff kind of put that stuff to the side and sit there and go, last year was last year, this year is this year. How do you try to rationalize, blend both of those ideas, knowing folks think one thing, but you're focusing on the new season? So how does that? How does that?
Mind in terms of the connection, but
No, go ahead, Ian.
I think I got the question reasonably well. I think actually our biggest challenge as a staff and as an organisation is to actually celebrate last season, because we find it much easier in our organisation to be chasing, to be proving ourselves again. That comes very, very easily to us. We don't get too high with the highs and too low with the lows. We had a great season, but I think, you know, the bigger challenge for our staff is to actually celebrate last season and pay homage to it and understand, you know, how big an accomplishment it was to win 2 trophies as a franchise. But again, on the flip side, going into the season, it's very simple. USL One soccer, for anybody who's inside of it, knows how tight the margins are. We didn't get the playoff berth until the very last game of the season. We were deserving of it, but it was a kind of hotly contested season all year. You've got teams that didn't make the playoffs who are very good. Northern Colorado are a very good team. Madison are a very good team. Others were good teams, and the margins were very, very tight. So we're not naive to that. We've looked across the league at all these teams and who they've added. Fuego have added Carrera, who's a fantastic footballer. NCFC that we play on Friday night have almost, I don't know how they've managed to acquire the roster that they've acquired with the amount of top caliber players they have pulled together. Obviously, their model must be special because some of the boys they brought in it's like a championship squad that they've amassed. So, look, we can see threats all around us at all times, but we have to just double down on the Tormenta way. We have to double down on the things that we thought were good about us even in the year where we weren't successful, when the staff were together in 2021. Those things that we kept from 21 into 22 that we knew worked even though the results weren't there, and then double down on the things we take from 22 that worked, and then make a couple of adjustments and try to go again and try to compete and try to be in the playoffs. And once you're in the playoffs, make a run, and that's all it is. But we're just ever so grateful to take the field again. People can give whatever titles they want to us. We deserve that title. We're proud of it. We're proud to wear the star and the badge, but we're very, very interested in trying to get another one and another one. And that's not going to be the finished article tomorrow night, but come the end of the season, we want the same unity and processes that we put in place to rise and hit a crescendo once we come into the November time and try to be the best team at that point in the season. And that's the challenge we have, and it's an exciting one, and this group is really up for the battle.
What did you learn about yourself as a coach in a championship season?
It's not as enjoyable as you think it'll be. You're very proud of the effort everybody's made, but I think what our staff are probably proudest of ourselves is from being young, we managed to retain what we thought worked in 2021, but didn't show up in results in our league standing, and keep our head and keep those processes going into 2022, and with the right characters, the right players, the right unity of the group, you can do special things. But yeah, winning championships is cool on that night, but then quickly you move on. And to be honest, like I've said before, you learn some things. You just want to be back on the field. You want to go again and play another competitive game, and we're ever so grateful for that opportunity come Friday night.
What did you learn about this group in the preseason going forward to this season opener?
Well, the kind of challenge that we face with the new group is you've got a group of returning guys who've obviously found one solution to a championship. But we've obviously made very, very clear that's a solution. So there's habits that we had last season that need to change. There's habits that we have to keep. We have to keep moving. But the returning guys have to be very clear. We've had many conversations about it of, okay, what does it take to build a new championship team? And then the guys coming in, so they have to stay hungry. They have to stay energetic to keep on making changes, to adjust and not just say, oh, I've done it already. I've found the solutions. We haven't. We found a solution. We're going to have to find new solutions this year. And then the group that come and join us, the danger of those guys, if their mentality is off, is they think by just joining a team that's won a championship, that by proxy, that makes them championship caliber, that makes them a group that can achieve that. They've been brought here to do something new, to build a whole different team. And if they have any naivety about that, we'll find ourselves mid-table very, very quickly. So the guys coming in have to understand we're only going to be championship team if they act like champions, if they perform like champions. And the guys returning are going to have to stay hungry, stay energetic, understand and be willing to modify their habits to keep on moving forward. Otherwise, we'll become stagnant. So balancing those two psyches of the returning group versus the new group, that's kind of been the challenge. And our mantra last year was to be the best team down the home stretch. And again, that's the same. Hopefully we get off to a hot start. That'll be really helpful, right, to mount a regular season championship campaign to try to usurp Richmond, who were the best team last year, over the course of the season. But failing that, it's just being the best team down the stretch. And that takes unity, that takes consistency and habits, and that takes all the same ingredients and the foundation that we had last year, both in new group. And we're up for that challenge, and we're looking forward to it.
Ian Cameron, head coach of South Georgia Tormenta, hanging out with us for another couple of minutes from the team bus on the interstate as they're heading to the season opener in Cary, North Carolina against North Carolina FC. For those fans who haven't had the chance to see the new faces as they attempt to integrate into this championship roster with the holdovers, who are some of the newer guys that fans can keep an eye on this season that have been added to Tormenta?
Yeah, I think we're always hesitant as an organization to pinpoint one or two guys. We have a squad of 19 paid pros and 3 academy contract players, making a 22-man squad that we believe every man in there is going to play some kind of role in whatever we achieve this season. So the kinds of players we've got some rookies in, which is really exciting. It's always cool to watch them in opening night, see how they react to the first pro game, see that feeling, seeing them adjust from a college season and how do they have the sustainability into a pro season that's longer, takes more emotional balance. So watching that evolution for those guys is really helpful. We've had some guys who are coming to us from the championship. Watching them, they've come to us because even though they had options in the championship, they want to be indexed to. They think we are the best platform for them to get to the heights that they want to get to, whether it's MLS or the top end of the championship. So they've come to us, raised their hand and says, I want to be indexed to what the ingredients and sauce that you guys produce here at Tormenta FC and the habits and the culture and so forth. So watching them add to that is really, really interesting. And then we've got guys who are coming with a year or two experience, but have kind of bounced around organizations and have looked across at Tormenta and said, oh, I want a piece of that. So watching these different types of players from different environments adapt to us, and then for us as a coaching staff and an ownership to adapt to them and these new personalities, I think that's the part that's really, really enjoyable. So we have a variety of different types of personnel joining us, and that's something I think the fans will get to know over time and really appreciate.
What is that like when you as a coach and an administration get these contacts from players who want to be a part of Tormenta? I mean, they have taken the idea of the location, put it to the side, and it's like, I want to be a part of a winning environment regardless of where it is. What's it like to get phone calls and correspondence like that?
Well, I think what it starts with is a very clear transparency in what we are and what we're trying to do. And we try not to delusion people. We try not to sell something that we're not. We try to put all our laundry out there and make it very, very clear what the expectations are here, what the demands are here, what the experience will be like. But then on the flip side, if you buy into it, if you pay your dues, if you embrace the Tormenta way and what our opportunity presents, then we think we can be a catapult. We think we can be a brilliant platform for you in your career, and you come out of this experience a better man, a better all-round person, greater sense of community, and a better footballer in all senses. So it's really interesting, but the process starts with our really clear definition on who we are to make sure that we're not sending any mixed signals. And so guys come in. Now, even when they come in, there's still some friction. There's still them getting used to the expectations, the amount of oversight that we have, the amount of meetings we have, the accountability we have. There's some friction. Things that are really hard to do in life are rarely easy to achieve. And these guys are coming in understanding the demands that we put on them. But we hope even if they don't understand it now, we hope by the time they leave this organization, they get it. They get the why of our process from top to bottom. But the early conversations are interesting. What motivates a player, what their angle is, where they are in their career. There's a amount of players that we spoke to this year, very good players who we just decided as a staff they weren't quite the right fit for us. And then flip side, there's some players that decided that we aren't the right fit for them. But that's okay. And these conversations are very, very important. So the players that get on the bus, who are joining us here, under no illusions of what we are and what we stand for. And win, lose or draw, we're proud to have our product on the field and a unity and a camaraderie and everybody singing off the same song sheet. These things are important to us, and we are the guys we have here. We're really pleased with them. Are they finished this article right now? No. Will we get better over the course of the season? Yeah. But this is a group that we're very, very proud to say that are the Tormenta team for 2023, and we think we can achieve great things with them.
How many of them are asleep right now?
I don't know. I tend to, whenever we get in the bus, I tend to try and not look back the way. Sometimes some of the things they're doing just peeve me off, so I just try to stay forward, face forward, ignore the shenanigans in the back of the bus. Guys who want to sleep, guys who want to have a laugh, guys who are on these stupid video games or talking too loudly or whatnot. I just try to blinker that out, and then once we get off the bus, that creates a better relationship between myself and the players. If I manage to just try to block out some of the crap that they give us on the bus. So I don't know what they're doing back there, but they're in good spirits. It's a highly spirited group. They've got a nice camaraderie around them, and that's important to us.
Last question for you, and thanks for putting up with my questions as you head to your season opener. How are you, as a new father again, and as a head coach, how are you, because you're putting in probably 27, 28 hours a day worth of work as a dad, as a parent, and as a coach. How are you holding up?
Look, I think the simple side from my side, and again, this is a plug, but I'm just blessed to have an incredible wife. I mean, my wife's just a rock star. She's went back to work last week. She's a physician's assistant. She smashes that job. She does some brilliant work, almost more meaningful work to the community than I do. Yet she still allows me the latitude to have a career that requires a different lifestyle. So we have two brilliant young kids, but my wife's an absolute rock star, and that allows me the flexibility to do something that really is the dream job. That is a job that I couldn't pick a better job in the world to get to do, and the privilege again to have every day to do what I love. So I'm very, very fortunate in that sense, and I've got a lovely home life, a lovely career. Days are hard. There's testy times, but again, I'm just very, very fortunate to have what I have in life, a brilliant family and a family here at Tormenta that fulfills all my potentials. So it's quite easy when you've got a team around you. The coaching staff I have here with me here, are very, very good, very clever boys, very hard-working boys with bright futures. I've got an ownership group and a front office group that are superb, and I think that admits through the success that Tormenta's had. And then at home, so with all those things around you, you can't help but you've got everything set up for you to be successful. So it's now my just job to do my job and bring success to home and bring success to the organization.
Amen. Ian, thanks for coming on with us live from the interstate as you guys are heading to Cary. Good luck this weekend. Good luck tomorrow going up against North Carolina FC. Thanks to you and thanks to Darin. Thanks to everybody there at Tormenta for hanging out with us on the bus. Just get there safely, do well, and we will catch up with you soon, my friend.
Appreciate you, sir. Thanks for the time. Also the support. Thank you very much.
Ian Cameron
Bye for now.
and Darin van Tassell hanging out with us for South Georgia Tormenta. Fantastic work. And I give Edwin Pintor a lot of credit. That was awesome. And we got players. Oh, we got players. We got players. This is great. Okay, so this is an added bonus. This is an added bonus. All right, Alex, this is an added bonus here. I was not aware of this. We're trying to figure out who we got. So, all right, we're going to go overtime. Oh, they didn't. No, but hey, Coca, they didn't shut off the device. We got players. It's fantastic. I'll take it. I will literally take this. This is great. Okay, so they didn't shut off the device. And all right, we got players.
Hello?
Yes. Who's this? You are live on the air. Fantastic. Can you hear me here in Atlanta?
Yes, I skipping in and out there.
Okay. I
Can you
can
hear me?
hear. Yeah, you're good. Absolutely. I can hear fine. I know it might be a little dicey, but that's great. I know that Edwin is working hard trying to get a player. I know that the earbuds might be a little moody. Reception might be a little moody. I see trees moving in the background. This is good. Oh, man. All right. I'm going to take them out temporarily. Oh, fantastic. Oh, we're that close to having players. Okay. Tormenta heading north to Cary, North Carolina, as they are chasing after repeating in USL League One. And we're trying it again off of a different device. So let's see what happens here. I think it was Keziah, but we'll double check it and see if we can come up with images and sound and fury. Because it did look like Kaz. But we will certainly see. All right, we're trying it. Can you hear Atlanta? Soccer down here. Yes, absolutely.
It's like skipping in and out.
Oh, heartbreak. Oh.
Hold on, it might be still now.
All right. How about
can you hear
now?
me?
Yes.
Oh, I think I actually. Yeah. If I.
Oh man. Oh, 2 for 2. All right, we're trying to get players off of the Tormenta bus. And as we are trying to get players off of the Tormenta bus, we'll go over your viewing habits for today. And there's Europa Conference League and stuff. Copa Libertadores is on at 6 and 8 on BN and BN and Espanol. So round 3.
All right, I'm back.
All right. So who do we have?
Elijah Amo.
Okay, awesome. A couple of questions, real quick.
Okay.
What's the preseason been like?
You said what's preseason been like?
Yep, Elijah. What's preseason been like?
Oh, it's been good. I mean, it feels good to be on a new team. I mean, I've been welcomed with open arms. You know, getting used to all the tactical play, positional play, everything like that. My new teammates. It's been a pretty good. I think it was 5 weeks.
So when it comes to this club, what's been your biggest adjustment so far?
I think the biggest adjustment has just been like getting used, because whenever you join a new team, it's like getting used to everything, like the organization as a whole. So I think just, getting used to everything and then becoming like 100% comfortable with everybody. That's been the biggest adjustment, I'd say.
Coming off of time with Maryland Bobcats and time in NISA, what were the conversations like for you, Elijah? What attracted you to Tormenta other than the fact that it's a championship club and the time that before spending your time with Maryland? What attracted you to Tormenta?
I would say the coaching staff and the vision that they have and the way that they want to play. I was really interested in that when we spoke in the off season. So I think that is definitely the number one thing that attracted me to the club. And then other than that, I liked everything that the club stood for outside the field. That involves like the involvement in the community and everything like that, and everything they stand for, really. So.
And when you have jumped into this Tormenta environment, Elijah, I know that the expectations are very, very high, not just for the players, but the players themselves chasing after a repeat. What's it been like for you guys getting the relationships together and understanding, okay, if I do this, I need to do this? How are the relationships on the field going and trying to get everything squared away?
Could you repeat that last part, please?
Sure. No. What's it been like, Elijah, trying to get your on-field relationships to where it's just second nature? Where is everything when it comes to the on-the-field relationships and understanding, if I go here, then I need to do this. This guy goes here, then I need to do this. Where's the on-the-field relationship so far?
Oh, it's pretty good. I mean, I think that we've been able to work out a lot of the kinks that we had throughout the preseason games that we played. We had 5 preseason games, and each game you could tell that we were getting used to playing with each other more and more. So like the chemistry, it's just been getting better throughout the entire preseason. So I'm interested and really looking forward to seeing how we put it out on the field tomorrow night.
What has study hall been like getting ready for North Carolina FC? You don't have to give away any secrets, but what are you anticipating in this match tomorrow night?
It's opening night, so I'm anticipating a high energy game. It's been a long off season, and everybody's been working towards one goal, and it's coming back better this season. So I'm anticipating it to be a lot of energy. The adrenaline of the fact that this is the first game of the entire season. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the crowd. Looking forward to how we play and all the things that we will be able to implement on the field as the coaching staff have been teaching us throughout the preseason. So I'm really looking forward to everything, every aspect of the game.
Fantastic. Elijah, thanks for hanging out with us on the bus. Thanks for hanging out with the connection. Thank Edwin for everything there. Get safe. Be safe. We'll be watching on ESPN+. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the show.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Elijah, oh, wow, that was great. All right, so we're good. We're done. And we are in. We're done with the show. We went overtime. And that's a show, man. Catching them on the bus, that was great. And they're still going. they're still going. And so that's a long show. All right. So Elijah Amo, Darin van Tassell, Ian Cameron, Jarrett, all of you, all of us, we're ending the broadcast because we got stuff to do. We'll talk about more tomorrow, 9 o'clock, 9:05, Beyond Goals 9:30. We can whip around at 10. That's your USL League One preview, everybody. Since it's the end of the show, that means that I'm just going to do a cold out. We'll see you tomorrow night.